people who make it work is they figure out what works for them as
And welcome to episode number 4 of Numbers and Nonsense. With me, as always, is the CPA with the best fantasy football team you've ever seen. It's Aaron Holtzman. Aaron, how are you doing today?
I'm fantastic. And Joe, that is recorded, so I'm going to play that at our live auction draft in a couple weeks.
Well, what can I say? It's entertainment. Don't believe everything you hear. Well, hey, it's great to catch up with you, Aaron. I know it was an exciting end of the week last week. I was actually able to send you over a referral for a borrower, someone that was looking to go into due diligence on a business acquisition, something like we talked about last week with Tyler on episode 3. How did that handoff go? Were you able to connect with the borrower?
Yeah. Firstly, thanks for the referral, Joe. And for anyone listening, always. Referrals and building good relationships with people you work with is so important. Obviously, Joe and I go way back, but if you're starting your own business, plugging in with referral sources and trusted professionals for yourself and your clients is just so important. Joe, to answer your question, it went great. I had a call with this individual who's looking to buy a liquor store in Colorado with underlying real estate, and he's doing it all the right way. He's putting together a professional team before the transaction happens, before a formal LOI goes out. And I'm actually going to be consulting with him, not just on, hey, how are the funds getting pulled together, such as personal assets or 401k distributions. By the way, for those listening, none of what we talk about here is tax or legal advice. But again, going through the nuances of how do you source the funds? What is the tax impact for sourcing the funds when you're pulling from various places? And then also about the transaction itself. We're going to do some assistance with his due diligence, making sure that the predefined price that he's paying for is based on numbers that are legitimate. Because you don't want to be buying a product or a place for a certain dollar amount only to find out that the revenue is half of what was being asserted to you. And these types of clients are my favorite to work with, are business owners going into an acquisition, because I get to work with them from inception, from the acquisition. And I tell my clients, my goal is to work with you until one of us dies. And then the next generation in my firm and the next generation in your business or your family will be growing up there together. And to that end, there was a lot to be done after acquisition or even pre-acquisition regarding structuring. There's underlying real estate. There's a liquor license in play. It's not as simple as, hey, I'm just going to form an entity and put everything under this particular entity. And that kind of brings us to our guest, Joe, who we have here, the esteemed Adam Weissman, Esquire, who is an attorney that I've known and worked with for, what, like 8 years now, Adam? If not more. Yeah. And Adam, the conversation I just had with this potential client that I'm working with, that I'm going to be onboarding, was kind of similar to a conversation you and I had with one of your clients about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, it was, we were putting together an operating agreement for a 2-person partnership whose business was focused more on the creative agency production space. And they had a very specific question about profits and losses, which turned into a much larger conversation about, hey, what type of entity should it be in the first place? And I'll say, as a lawyer, I have an understanding of how all these entities work. But the second it goes into the tax implications, while I have enough experience to sort of identify the issues, I go, we need to bring an accountant and really start thinking about it that way. So we had a fun call where, Aaron, you hopped on and sort of set things straight in terms of, no, here's why we're actually sticking with the entity that we originally chose. Here's how profit and loss is going to work in this pass-through entity, which is what an LLC is by default. And then we didn't really change anything after that. It actually made our job on our end a little bit easier, because they went, okay, actually this original plan makes perfect sense. But yeah, getting in and having those conversations with another professional is always incredibly helpful, because we can give legal advice until the cows come home. But the second somebody asks us tax and accounting, we just go, all right, we're bringing in somebody else who's got a little more experience than we have.
Oh, that's someone else's problem. Let me see if Aaron's available. I don't have a great answer.
I stay in my lane. That's a legal question. Yeah. And perfect. Adam, I'm sorry for. Oh, go ahead, Joe. Sorry.
I was going to say, welcome so much to the show. I think I might have just stepped on the same question Aaron was going to ask. Maybe you could just introduce yourself and your firm to our audience.
Yeah, thanks for having me. So my name's Adam, founder of Weissman Law, which is a transactional firm that's mostly focused on media and entertainment work. So really what that means for the sort of initiates to that space is we do everything from company formation and advising on those pieces to drafting templates and applying for trademarks and copyrights for businesses that are forming, to then getting involved with people's businesses on a day-to-day basis, doing things like deal negotiation, advising on best practices, depending on sort of what rules and regulations affect their business. But the through line of all that is almost all of our clients are in the media entertainment space, whether that means commercial production companies, film producers, content creators and their managers, creative agencies, advertising agencies, going on to folks like painters, visual artists, art installation folks, and the agencies who help them out. Really, everything outside of music and litigation within the space is something that we do and we touch on. And we really do run a full service firm that's handling everything we were just talking about with Aaron, from company formation to basically almost all the way up to M&A, although we don't quite do that.
And Adam, you and I kind of have a similar background, being both professionals, being partner track at some larger firms. Can you tell us a little bit about your transition? Obviously, we're going to talk more about the work you do, but you're a small business owner first and foremost. So can you tell us a little bit about your journey?
I think first to fact check you, I don't think I was ever officially on partner track. I exited. I started actually up in Canada, born and raised in Toronto, and joined a mid-sized litigation firm straight out of law school. Became a commercial and copyright litigator. And at about somewhere between years 2, 3, and 4, was getting really burnt out with the job. And my girlfriend at the time, is now my wife, got this amazing job opportunity in New York that in a totally different industry, had nothing to do with what I do. But I told her, hey, you go, and I'm going to go and follow you and kind of figure out what I want to do, take that really good training I had and kind of pivot a little bit. My background on a personal level is I play a little bit of music. I do a little bit of film work, just kind of on the side, and realize, hey, it'd be really fun to take my legal knowledge and training and experience and put that directly into the entertainment and media space. So in 2016, I moved to New York. I took the New York bar, 4 years out of law school, had a period of time where I wasn't sure what was up, started applying to jobs, got some interviews at some pretty great places. But while I was waiting to hear back, just took on a handful of clients in early 2017. Got in with a couple larger clients sort of in the content creator and digital media space, which I would say, well, Aaron, you're my accountant, so I don't know if you remember my returns in 2017. I don't think we were working together quite yet, but let's just say it was really hard paying rent that year. But by year 2, had built up a little base of clients, and they were all in the media and entertainment space. And we're looking at about 8 years of that now. And like I had said before, that's their space. Went from thinking I was going to be a W-2 employee for my entire life to very quickly realizing that there was a lot more satisfaction I could get out of running my own business, and I haven't looked back since.
Also, Adam, congrats again. But this past year, you actually onboarded your first employee at your firm. That's such a big step, especially, you've been killing it on your own for so long. Can you tell everyone what that was kind of like, what the thought process was like for you to ultimately go down that path, and, how's it been?
Yeah, it's been great. Lorena, if you're watching this, doing an excellent job. My associate Lorena came on board. It's got to be, we're getting close to a year full-time, but I actually was lucky enough. She was helping me out part-time when I had a new client came in that frankly was just asking me to take on more small contracts than I could possibly do on my own. So I brought her in and trained her for that. There was some circumstances there where that small client went away really quickly for reasons that were outside of our control. But after working with her for a couple of months, I was like, you know what? I think I see where this is going. We should make this full time. And it was one of the best decisions I've ever made. I think looking back at it, I actually probably could have, made that decision maybe a few years earlier. a big part of the business, especially when you are a service provider whose role involves a lot of phone calls, a lot of giving advice, and a lot of basically paying business therapists. It's really hard to remove your ego from the space and go like, no, there are probably people that I can bring in that will help that my clients would also appreciate. Ripping that Band-Aid off and realizing like, yeah, the job is bigger than just me, myself, and and there are other people here that can truly help was a big deal. So in the last year or so since she was on board, I've had more time to do business development and that piece, which is great. I've had a little more time to focus on the admin, which is great too, because we're just creating a better structure for future employees to come in. But honestly, the biggest takeaway and the best part has been I've become a better lawyer for it because we're doing so much training. And it's reinforcing all these things that I've learned over the last 13 years or so. It's making me question certain assumptions I might have had. We'll be working on a deal and she'll make some choices and we'll question each other's decisions. And I go, oh, you've actually, put my work to test, and we realize we can do something more efficient here or make a better argument here or frame something a little better here. So I think in all, it's just made the work for the clients a lot better as well. They're getting the benefit of another person who's doing a great job, who's also making me question things that I do. And I think whatever type of service provider you are, whatever type of professional you are, you can never rest on your laurels. It's when people start getting a little lazy and decide that they don't feel like learning anymore, that they really start going downhill with the services they're providing. And that is absolutely not the case. If anything, we've just like improved significantly in the last year since bringing Lorraine on.
So I can't help but notice that there's some real similarities between you and Aaron, both up in New York with your professional careers. I believe Adam, you were in Toronto for your law career. Aaron, you were in New York for your accounting career, and both sort of found the itch to jump off and take on more responsibility or maybe take a path that's less tread. What do you think it takes, or what do you think is some of the common characteristics that can lead someone from being a great professional to also being a great professional business owner?
Sure. I'll talk mostly in the frame of other lawyers because obviously that's what I know. And on top of that, I've had the privilege of being the chair of the New York City Bar Small Law Firm Committee for the last 2 years, going to my third year now. So I see a lot of lawyers, whether they're towards the beginning of their career, in the middle, or somewhere towards the end, who try to make the jump into running their own practice. And the first thing to know, it's a wildly different skill set than the skill set that you're taught in law school and even the skill set that you're taught at law firms. Being a good lawyer does not equate to being a good law firm owner or business owner. They are completely parallel paths. The things that I have found are sort of the commonalities between people who are doing it right is, like I said, always wanting to learn, being competent at what you do. You don't have to be the absolute best. You should be very, very good. And if anyone can question you about anything you do, you need to be able to justify it. But the thing is, and this is the really tough part of the job, most clients don't really pay attention to the work that you're doing until you screw up. What they do pay attention to, and this is the third piece, is how diligent you are in responding to them and getting back to them and making them know that they're being taken care of. And that's a big piece. When you are a lawyer, you're getting paid pretty decent amount of money to answer emails and just read things for people and help them with risk analyses. And the reason they're coming to you isn't because they can't do it. That's not true. Nothing we do is rocket science by all means. But the reason they come to you is because they are busy running their own businesses and doing their own things and meeting their own goals. And they go, this aspect of my business, I want to offload it onto somebody else. And that means you need to make it clear that they can rely on you. And that's actually one of the biggest pieces of all. So many of my clients come to me and I'm the second lawyer they've worked with. And the reason I'm the lawyer that they stick with for a while is because I'm answering their emails better. I'm giving them clear advice. Another big problem that lawyers tend to have is, we'll understand the law and that's all well and good, but we don't necessarily take that next step and explain how it's going to apply in a real world scenario. That's a huge, huge difference. A client doesn't want to get a 50 paragraph email from me talking about literally every single risk. Now, sometimes I'll have to put those emails together, but at the very top of the email in bright bold letters or highlighted, I'm going to go, okay, check out below when you get a minute. But here's like the Coles notes of everything you need to know. Here are the immediate risks. Here are the things you should think about. Here are the risks that I'm going to identify as probably never coming to fruition. Obviously, I have to tell you about them. So it's being able to distill things in that way is extremely important. It's all of those pieces. And then the other piece, kind of stepping away from what you need to do on a client to client basis, is the business development and the administrative stuff and all these things that they definitely do not teach you anywhere in law school. And frankly, when you go work for a firm, whether it's an accounting firm or a law firm or any other sort of professional services firm, it's almost in that firm's best interest to not teach you that stuff.
Exactly.
Because they want you to stick around and they want you to be a good, busy worker bee and not have aspirations to build your own stuff out and not bring in too many clients so suddenly you're the star in the firm. So it's really interesting coming out on your own going, oh, I need to learn this skill set by myself, how I am going to get out there and talk to people and bring clients in, which is just, there's no playbook for that. Like it really, truly is a very specific individual thing. Everybody does it differently. I think figuring that piece out is the through line of what every single business owner needs, because you can be a genius lawyer or a genius accountant, but if you don't have clients to actually do the work for, none of that matters.
I couldn't agree with you more. And I say that to Aaron all the time. There's not many better CPAs in terms of technical skills, but there's definitely not many that have your sales acumen and the ability to talk. And, you know, Adam, as you were talking, something I kept hearing was empathy, being able to understand things from your client's point of view and not necessarily just what the technical law means, which I think translates so much into the ability to sell. Like sales so often is thought of as like those people in the mall that just put shit in your hand and don't let you walk away till you buy anything. When really, I think the best salespeople are the ones that have such a deep knowledge that they can easily and accurately explain their value proposition to people who need it, and then they can make an informed decision or not. You know,
exactly. You never get a sale by going, "Hey, do you need a lawyer?" Or "Hey, do you need an accountant?" That it doesn't work that way. It's getting to know people, being genuinely interested in what they do, and trying to understand stuff. And when you ask the right questions and you show that you're engaged, and you actually have to be that, people will come back to you when they need you. But another big piece of that is like the patience that comes with building a business, because especially those first 2 years, I remember talking to people just being like, I'm ready, let me at it. Like, give me the clients. And it doesn't just happen overnight. You have to build up those relationships. You know, part of the reason I am very comfortable sending clients to Aaron is because I do see the way he talks to people, which it's not identical to the way I talk to people, but there's a match there, right? Yeah. Like I see, I'm like, that's complementary. People are not going to get the exact same service that they get with me that they get with Aaron, and they shouldn't, because he's a different type of service provider. But there's going to be a level of consistency there that people are going to see, and that really goes a long way. Being able to be like, I can't do tax or accounting, but I'm going to hand you over to somebody who can, and then I can kind of step back and go, all right, I don't have to worry about how this is going to play out, because I know whatever happens, even if things get a little difficult, because sometimes accountants and lawyers have to give bad news, but even if that happens, at least the client's going to know that they're being taken care of and they're being sent in the right direction.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny you're talking about the sales side, like who's your attorney? I always think of Rick Moranis, his role in Ghostbusters, where there's like just one scene, and again, it sticks with me, obviously, because I'm a CPA, but he goes, who does your taxes? Like, you know, he just like was like some, went through a massive type of existential threat and was like, oh, let me ask them about their taxes. But Adam, to your point too, and we have different approaches, but the important stuff we always are aligned with when it comes to taking care of clients, which is, and I tell clients this all the time, and anyone listening that's going to work with an attorney or an accountant or an insurance provider or a financial advisor, any of these, is at the end of the day, you're the one making the decision. The business owner is the one making the decision. I could get hit by a car the next day. I could be a POS and just make off to the Cayman Islands. Who knows? But at the end of the day, it's your decision. And it's our jobs to educate you and present you with your options and steer you towards the options that we would recommend. But at the end of the day, if you're ever getting audited by the IRS, you can't just plead innocence saying, oh, I relied on my accountant. They're not gonna go, oh, poor baby. They're going to go, okay, but you're an adult. So again, for anyone listening from a legal perspective, I've seen clients that didn't work with Adam in this case, but get burned regarding employee versus contractor considerations. That's a whole thing that we could have an episode on. And Adam, if you want to talk about that, feel free to. But that's the type of stuff that as a business owner, you have to own up to. You have to be aware of, hey, the buck stops with me, and take the true responsibility and not just defer responsibility and push it around. And if you are that type of an individual, there's nothing wrong with that, but then maybe W-2 is for you because you just want to do this particular piece. You don't want to deal with all the BS that goes beyond it.
Yeah, and there is a lot of BS. And it's funny you mentioned the contractor versus employee thing, because that's a conversation I have with my clients once a week, probably
all the time.
And, we're not even an employment law firm, but it pops up. It has to pop up because there's not a single, unless you're literally a solopreneur, every single business is going to have some version of vendors or contractors and or employees. And knowing the distinctions between them is key, just to kind of like put it in a nutshell. It goes state by state. It's slightly different, but I will say across the country, there's a lot of similarities. And basically, if you're bringing somebody on to your business and you're treating them like an employee, where you're the only person that they're working for, you're controlling their time, you're controlling what they do, you're giving them like note by note instructions on everything. It's part of your main line of business. Chances are that person's going to be classified as an employee if the labor board gets involved. But it's not a black and white test. It's a sliding scale. And it's really, it makes it tough for new business owners to know what to do. And at the end of the day, a lot of times, their major consideration is going to be just, hey, how do we save as much money as we can? Because the second you bring in a W-2 employee, there's all these other things you have to pay for, right? But identifying that, giving them the toolkit to make that decision is massive, because no single lawyer should be saying definitively, I know 100% this is a contractor, unless the evidence is just incontrovertible, right? Yeah, fine. You get them to do their marketing, your company's marketing once a week for 2 hours. Okay, it's probably a contractor. But something that's in a gray area, yeah, it's really incumbent on business owners to understand from their accountants and their attorneys and their other advisors how to holistically figure those things out, because it's rarely going to be the case that it's a black and white answer.
That's absolutely true. And I always tell people, my clients in particular, don't be penny wise, dollar foolish.
Yeah.
It's not just the Department of Labor. It's not just unemployment insurance. It's workers' comp. God forbid someone gets hurt on the job. You are incredibly exposed. I mean, that's all legal stuff. I would finish this conversation with, but I'm just an accountant. You should talk to someone. I have a great attorney, such as Adam, that I would put you.
No, that's 100% it. It's absolutely that. And you know what the other piece is too, that really business owners need to think about more often. And this is not a legal thing. This is not an accounting thing. It's like worker retention and creating an environment where people are actually happy to work for you. So if you are literally taking up somebody's entire 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, and you're just treating them like a contractor and not giving them the things they probably deserve as an employee, think about what you're doing. Think about where that person's going to be a year from now when they get a full-time job offer that maybe the pay's more or less the same, but they got the benefits that they're entitled to. You being cheap with your contractor / employees does not go very far. And that has been a recurring theme for lots of folks that I've worked with in the past, seeing that. And that's not legal advice. That's just something that, I'm sure, Aaron, you see that too over time. You see enough businesses go through your door and you realize what works and what doesn't work. And part of that is, hey, if you have people you really like, do the right thing to keep them happy.
And a lot of times it's not as expensive as you necessarily think it's going to be. Oh, this person's part-time. If they're part-time, you don't have to offer health insurance, 401k. It's even less expensive. And you kind of hit it on the head. The approach you would have to have as a business owner is kind of two approaches: the abundance mindset or the scarcity mindset. And are you looking at the bottom line going, what can I pinch pennies on? Or are you going, hey, I'm going to bring this person on, I'm going to pay them what they deserve, and I'm going to focus on growing the business so I can feed them so they can make me more money, so we can then bring on more people and continue upward that way.
Yeah. Pinch pennies on things that don't have lives and families to worry about and have to, enjoy breathing and eating and sleeping. I mean, yeah, pinch pennies on software and things like that where you can get discounts. That's where it's not going to hurt you too much.
Push back on those legal bills that Adam sends out.
Well, maybe we can move. Maybe we can edit that part out.
A compassionate capitalist until a point. I see how it is, Aaron. Adam, you're in such a fascinating niche of the law, and anyone who's been paying attention can see that the winds of change are blowing in entertainment. Regardless of why, something like The Tonight Show getting canceled after 30 years, and despite having the top ratings and industry, people are like, yeah, surprised it didn't happen sooner. And then you compare that to someone like Conan O'Brien, right, who left network TV a long time ago and has had a lot more success as like a podcast host and online personality. From where you're sitting, working with smaller influencers and maybe seeing trends of merging before legacy media, what are you seeing that's like interesting in your industry right now? What's sort of the next thing that's coming?
Yeah. So we're kind of getting into this place where branded stuff and traditional entertainment are blending more and more, and the lines between them are blurring a little bit more and more. Meaning, I'm seeing brand deals for creators, and some of them are not so small. But I'm seeing these brands connecting with creators, saying, "Hey, do some like long form video. We'll give you a $1 million+ budget to do that," which rivals some of the smaller films that I've worked on in the past as a film lawyer. So you're seeing that. You're seeing a lot more attention given to platforms like YouTube, which just is able to go, creators on YouTube are able to go into really niche areas that TV and film never could have, because the risks for the individual are not there as much as they were for giant studios. Part of the reason a lot of this stuff is happening is because the traditional studio model in Hollywood is struggling. That's for TV, that is for film too. Part of it is, the younger generations are moving over to digital. They're spending more time on social media. They're spending more time on YouTube, which arguably is social media as well. And they're spending less time on TV. And if I haven't had proper cable in over a decade, but when I am somewhere that has proper cable, I do see most of the advertisements are directed towards at least older boomers. And you're just going, yeah, that makes sense, because I think most of your audience base is there. It's really cool to see how that industry has changed over the years. I started in the creator digital space about 9-10 years ago, and it was kind of looked down upon a little bit in some degrees, and it's gaining more legitimacy now. It's still not seen at the same pedigree as TV and film, and it probably won't ever, because the difference between TV and film and social or digital is TV and film, you've got your gatekeepers. Social, you kind of just get in by yourself. You get popular by luck and by an audience keying into you. And that is a much more sort of grassroots way of gaining an audience, rather than somebody up top in an office saying, we're going to make you big.
You sort of have to grab your audience versus being gifted it through, whether as you come up through Disney, you come up through Nickelodeon.
And that's not to say performers and creators in the traditional spheres were not working their butts off. They absolutely were, but they were given maybe an extra hand. Now, the flip side of what we see today is the internet is oversaturated with so much media and entertainment. And hey, there are millions of podcasts out there right now, probably doing stuff like the conversation we're having right now, and sort of being able to find your way to the right ones is tough. Sadly, a lot of it comes down to marketing spend, and the big podcasts that you see today tend to have really good advertising campaigns that go with it, or they're using established celebrities, so they already get that sort of market share that they would have had regardless. But all that being said, it's an exciting time. It's a really exciting time to be in it. It's exciting to be able to take my sort of traditional entertainment knowledge and apply that to the creator space, and vice versa. It's all sort of blurring into this one giant media entertainment thing. And we'll see where that goes over the next handful of years, because it is unpredictable. You look at where Facebook was a decade ago compared to where it is now. TikTok didn't exist here a decade ago. It's just things keep changing and evolving, and YouTube just keeps growing too, which I think is very exciting, because as I've talked about with Aaron multiple times, I'm probably watching as much YouTube as I am watching, traditional streaming television these days.
Sure. And, just outside of asking our audience to like and subscribe, please like and subscribe. What are you seeing that is working to build an audience in this sort of new media ecosystem? Like, what are some traits you see that maybe are, just good predictors of success from what you've seen with your clients that you've worked with?
Yeah, I think being honest and true to yourself is a big part of it. And I'm not going to use the word authenticity or building your brand or anything goofy like that, because those are buzzwords. But what I have seen with people who make it work is they figure out what works for them as a creator or an artist. They figure out what their audience tends to like, and they don't do the same thing over and over. They got to learn how to evolve. But staying true to yourself is a big one. People look at capital I influencers from 10 years ago and they go, oh, they're just, getting paid to take pictures of themselves on Instagram, which is the case and was the case for many people. But those people who are just doing that with no narrative, with no story to tell, don't make it very far. It's more the people who are able to tell a story to an audience, where an audience feels like, oh, I'm getting something really interesting that I can't get elsewhere, is a big deal. And another thing that's a lot of fun too, which is, again, kind of like what you guys are doing, is people want to learn these days. People really want to understand things, and doing deep dives into areas that would have been untouched by traditional TV or film is fantastic. Like I've learned how to cook because of YouTube and barbecue. And if anytime that like a sink is broken or something like that, I'm on YouTube figuring out how to fix it. And then I'm inevitably watching 20 more videos of that person because I'm like, oh, this is actually kind of interesting. So I now have a lot of useless knowledge in here that I wouldn't have had if it wasn't for streaming stuff. But really the takeaway is figure out who you are, figure out your voice, and stay consistent to it while still trying to grow. And truthfully, this is going to sound really hokey, but like it kind of is similar to running your own business as like a professional in some capacity. You got to figure out the way that makes sense for you to do it, figure out what your clients are going to like, keep learning as you're doing it, but stay true to who you are. Like, Aaron is a very good accountant, but there are definitely types of clients out there that won't fit for him. And the last thing he needs is to change his business model to fit for them. No, he just needs to find more clients that work for him. And the longer he does this, the more people are going to realize like Aaron's approach is actually right for me. And that's how he's going to be successful long-term. So but taking back to the creators into that space, it's a similar ethos. And I think that really goes for, I'm going to put out there, everyone who has a job. That's it. That's what it boils down to. Everyone has a job or owns a business. It's like, figure out who you are and be true to that and keep doing that. And also figure out how to grow while maintaining true to your principles. That got way more than I was anticipating.
I feel like put that on a pillow. Everything you just said. It'd be a very dense pillow, but that's
long.
Eat, Pray, Love, and then Adam's monologue there.
That'll be our first bit of merch. Stay true to yourself. Throw pillows.
I am getting a percentage of royalties on that, but that's fine.
You'll talk to our Lord. Damn it.
So Adam, I mean, where you are right now, what do you kind of vision yourself, your business directionally being a couple years from now? Obviously, again, you onboarded your first employee. You've learned to mentor, delegate, and give responsibility away from yourself. And you've had a good experience with it. What do you kind of envision yourself being, a couple years from now? And also, just before you answer too, I've said it a couple of times, everyone always focuses on scaling and growth. And sometimes it's good to just have a lifestyle that works for you, that sustains you, gives you the, earnings you want, and also allows you to, be home with the wife and kids, or the husband and kids and what have you. So where do you kind of vision yourself going, in the next couple years, Adam?
Yeah, the idea definitely is to grow a little bit more. I think there's economies of scale, especially when you're doing something as boutique as entertainment law. And I have already heard complaints from clients who are working at larger firms saying they're not getting the attention they need. So for me, it's figuring out what growth looks like while still being sort of true to the approach I've had for the last 8 years. It will get bigger. That's inevitable. I think one thing I've always been hesitant to do is like use some cheap tricks to grow too fast, take on too many clients that don't fit our model. And also on the flip side, like if I'm going to be working with people, make sure that they're a really good fit for working with me and dealing with the clients. So growth is on the horizon. Not sure what that looks like. You never really know, especially when we're working in industries that are constantly shifting. So part of it is just me paying attention to what's going on with my clients and their colleagues, and doing that there. But the longer I do this, the more I realize I don't know what I don't know, and figuring that out is a big part of it too. And just consistently trying to learn more and grow more and build something that feels very true to who I am as a person and it's satisfying. Developing business, Adam, is something that I've been working on for the last 10, 15 years or so, and learning that and figuring that out and learning how to do that organically has been a big part of it. So for me, it's like, yeah, we're growing. We'll see what happens in the next 5, 10 years. We'll certainly be bigger. If you bring me on in 5 years, I assume the conversation will be a little bit different, but we're not rushing to become a massive firm because I think there just isn't the value there for our clients. And then on top of that too, part of the reason we never want to get too big is I got into this specific space because I learned working with creators and artists, and frankly, people who don't have tens upon tens of thousands of dollars a year to put into legal, who want to be able to call up a lawyer and know that, they'll still be able to pay rent that month. And I never want to get too far away from that. Certainly every year our clients get bigger and bigger, and we attract bigger and bigger clients. But at the same time, I never want to have to turn an artist down because they can only afford maybe an hour of our time. So keeping that balance is going to be key to me really enjoying this as this thing grows.
That's great. And again, you kind of hit it on the head, saying like previously talking about, don't force it. Stay true to yourself. Know who you are. Like you're talking about myself. And I have an abundance mindset. Not everyone's going to be a good fit for me, and that's okay. And it's better to know that up front as opposed to spend a miserable year or two together and then have a bad breakup. But yeah, you're doing everything from what you're saying the right way, growing organically, not saying we need to hit this revenue metric in order to justify what we're doing or anything like that. Kind of coming up to the tail end of our conversation here, Adam. So really just want to kind of give you an opportunity to plug yourself one last time. Our segment that I coined last week was called What's Your Ask? So, our massive audience of, I think, 40 listeners right now, maybe 45 by the end of this call or this session. But Adam, what would you like our audience right now and future audience listeners to kind of take away? What is your ask for them?
I think not everyone's in a position to hire a lawyer when they're starting their business, and I recognize that. And we're a little more expensive than your accountant, which you should probably be onboarding from day one. If you had unlimited resources to hire a lawyer from day one, great, can do everything for you. But I realize that's not the case for a lot of people. I think it's really important for people starting business to just get a handle on legal issues that pop up in their industry and just as a business owner. So when a lawyer does come in, they can look at your stuff and be like, oh yeah, you kind of set things up all right. The other thing that I'll suggest on that end too is, a couple of years back, we started social channels, Weissman Law on TikTok and Instagram and LinkedIn. Follow us. We're putting out a lot of information about things you should be thinking about in your business, whether it's entity formation or contract negotiation, trademark, copyright registration, all the things that pop up, not just if you're an artist or in the creative spaces, but if you have a business generally. These are all things that are absolutely applicable. So I would say, check us out there, follow us. We have an open door policy. If you ever want to chat about business, we're here. Might not get back to you immediately, but we're here and we're happy to chat. And then I had a question for you guys, actually. The riddle at the top of your logo. If I get that, do I win a prize? Has anyone done that yet?
You might have discovered our secret riddle hidden right in the middle of our logo. Can you solve the secret question? 7 times 12 equals what?
84, right?
I think that's right. We're going to have to go and check it in Excel, but by next week, we will know if 84 is the answer. I promise you that.
Aaron needs to double check the work, so we're not
Yeah.
going to put him on the spot.
Well, all my staff prep it, I'll review it, and then we'll get an overview.
Yeah, if you could put together a quality of earnings report on that, expense it to the show, that'd be terrific.
And your prize is going to be in the mail, Adam.
Terrific. Well, Adam, thank you so much for joining us here, sharing a little bit of your journey, starting your own law firm, and growing in a really unique area. I really enjoyed the conversation, and hope we can have you back here. And just one more time for the people, what are the handles for those different socials that they could follow you on?
It's at WEISSMANLAW, Weissman Law. You can find us Instagram, TikTok, and LinkedIn. And actually YouTube too, as of a few months ago. So yeah, please check those out. And guys, thanks for having me. This is a lot of fun.
Absolutely, Adam. Always a pleasure.
Take care.
All right. And with that, Aaron, thank you for another great episode. We'll see you next week for episode 5 of Numbers and Nonsense.
Man, I can't believe it's already the 4th week, the 4th episode in the books. We did it.
Time's flying by, my friend. I'll talk to you then. All right.
Okay. Bye, Joe.